The film opens with Tatsu, a former Yakuza who has now chosen to live as a house husband. With a serious face that looks intimidating, he prepares lunch for his wife, Miku, and their young daughter, Himawari. After finishing household chores, Tatsu goes out with his younger brother, Masaru, to collect monthly contributions from the residents. Unfortunately, because of his scary-looking face and the lingering aura of a Yakuza boss, many people are terrified whenever he approaches, even though the contributions are only meant for community activities. While walking, Tatsu notices a new building standing in the neighborhood. Without hesitation, he immediately goes to the owner to collect the contribution. However, the owner turns out to be a Yakuza named Boss Kondo, who outright refuses. Calmly, Tatsu explains that the contribution is used for night patrols, community festivals, and park maintenance. At first, Kondo remains stubborn, but once he sees Tatsu's real face without his glasses, he changes his mind and gives him the money. After Tatsu leaves, Kondo's men intend to chase after him, but Kondo stops them and explains who Tatsu really is. He is a Yakuza legend who once single-handedly wiped out an entire major Yakuza family in just one night. That reputation still makes many people tremble at the mere mention of his name. Not long after, Masaru meets Iguchi, another Yakuza who lives in the neighborhood with his wife, Hibari. He reports about the arrival of Boss Kondo, whom he finds suspicious. Iguchi initially wants to take action, but because of their tough financial situation, he and Hibari instead decide to open a small business at a convenience store, postponing any dealings with Kondo. Meanwhile, Tatsu and his family have another problem. They're looking for someone who can take care of their pet hamster. On the other hand, Boss Kondo grows increasingly suspicious. He thinks Tatsu has bad intentions toward him and recalls an incident 7 years ago. At that time, Kondo once encountered Tatsu while repairing a floor. Kondo slipped, and his old illness flared up. Yamada, okay? Since that day, he has held a grudge and often takes out his anger on his subordinates. In the neighborhood, a policeman grows uneasy after hearing that a new Yakuza has moved in, along with old rumors about Tatsu's reputation. The situation becomes even more chaotic when a neighbor accuses Tatsu of firing a gun and collecting illegal funds. The police immediately believe it without checking the facts. This rumor then reaches Iguchi and Masaru through a woman who heard the gossip. She even says that Tatsu will clash with Kondo and urges Iguchi to step in. At home, Tatsu is busy feeding his hamster. Coincidentally, a policeman sees him from afar and misunderstands. Tatsu's movements are mistaken for hiding a weapon, especially since he is right in front of Kondo's building. The police immediately chase after him and accuse him of committing a crime. Tatsu runs into Kondo's building, but ends up being beaten by Kondo's men. Forced to defend himself, Tatsu fights back. Before he can explain, the police arrive, so he is forced to escape through the window. Masaru tries to help, but instead, Tatsu crashes into him, knocking him down. Eventually, Tatsu is cornered. In a desperate moment, he pulls out the hamster from his pocket and explains that he has been looking for someone to take care of the animal all along. The police then realize they misunderstood. Embarrassed, one of them even volunteers to take care of the hamster. That night, Miku, feeling sorry for her exhausted husband, tries to cook dinner, but the result turns out strange. During their conversation, Miku and Himawari talk about plans for an overseas vacation. However, Tatsu refuses, as he is still haunted by his past as a Yakuza, feeling as if trouble could come chasing him at any time. Soon after, Himawari hears a baby's cry at their front door. They're shocked to find a baby left there. At first, they want to report it to the police, but suddenly the baby urinates, forcing Tatsu to quickly buy diapers. Unfortunately, Hibari sees Tatsu buying baby supplies and assumes Miku has just given birth. The news reaches Iguchi, who immediately sends a gift of meat as congratulations. Things don't stop there. Iguchi, Hibari, and Masaru also come to Tatsu's house to give a surprise. They congratulate him, and Iguchi even gives the baby the name Ryu. However, everyone is shocked when they realize the baby is not a newborn, but already a bit older. Finally, Miku explains the real situation. Out of pity, they decide to take care of the baby temporarily until his family is found. Days go by, and Tatsu begins to grow fond of Ryu, even trying to cheer him up, but Tatsu's way makes Ryu end up without friends, leading to an argument with Masaru. In the middle of their quarrel, Tatsu receives a call from an acquaintance. He rushes to the location and finds Kondo's men causing trouble. They're forcing a teacher to sign a land sale agreement for Karyu School. The seemingly weak teacher suddenly gets angry and swears at them, surprising everyone. When Tatsu arrives, Kondo's men immediately flee in fear. The teacher then explains that Kondo wants to buy the school's land to build a large mall, and thus he has been terrorized in many ways. As a result, many students are scared, and other teachers have resigned, leaving him as the only one remaining. Tatsu and a woman feel sorry for him, and the woman asks Tatsu to help save Karyu's school using his strength. Tatsu later discusses it with Miku, who finally agrees as long as he does not use violence. Soon after, Tatsu meets Torijiro to ask him to protect the school. But Torijiro refuses, leading to a fight between them. The fight is stopped by Koharu, Torijiro's younger sister, who introduces herself as the third-generation leader of the Hiroshima group. Instead of fighting, Koharu is actually captivated by Tatsu, even hallucinating that Tatsu confesses his love to her. Meanwhile, Masaru suddenly assumes that Ryu is Tatsu's illegitimate child. This makes Miku suspicious, as everyone wonders why the baby was left right at their doorstep. The next day, Tatsu and Masaru make a promotional video for Karyu School, showcasing many interesting courses and distribute flyers, but unfortunately, no one is interested. Not long after, Koharu arrives at Karyu School on her distinctive motorcycle and wants to enroll as a teacher. This makes Miku even more suspicious, mistakenly thinking Koharu is Ryu's biological mother. Meanwhile, Masaru gossips with Yukari, saying he almost fell in love with Koharu because he is too captivated, making Yukari jealous. She vents her frustration by pressing a hot plate against Masaru's hand until it burns. The following morning, Karyu School receives a visit from another Yakuza who wants to enroll his grandson after seeing Tatsu's promotional video. The Yakuza even asks for his grandson to participate in the sports festival. On the day of the festival, Miku arrives with Ryu and immediately greets Koharu, but is shocked to see Koharu's closeness with Ryu. Soon after, Tatsu arrives, and they introduce themselves with challenging glares. The festival begins with a rope-grabbing competition in the air, where participants fight using their own techniques, while men below also fight each other.
ャグつける時が来たな。
上等や。
ついてるけどな。
さあ。
The competition is won by Miku, who manages to grab the rope tie. This is followed by the children's competition, played by Ryu and Soda. Although there are only a few participants, they look happy. Meanwhile, Boss Kondo, who sees the festival video, is furious, especially knowing that Tatsu took part. He once again vents his anger on his men. At Kiryu School, the teacher thanks everyone because the sports festival has encouraged some parents to re-enroll their children. Not long after, Boss Kondo comes to meet Tatsu. He asks him to sell the school land, but Tatsu refuses. Kondo reminds him to recognize who he is, but Tatsu does not remember at all. Suddenly, Koharu punches Kondo, making him even angrier and threatening that he will do whatever it takes to get what he wants. Days pass, and Kiryu School finally gains new students. Meanwhile, Miku gathers the courage to talk to Koharu, but she misunderstands, thinking Ryu is Koharu's child. Koharu clarifies that the only reason she applied as a teacher at Kiryu School was because she likes Tatsu.
たっちゃんとの間にできた子でしょ。
うち子供産んだことないんじゃけど。
Hearing this, Miku is shocked and firmly states that she will never give Tatsu to Koharu. Not long after, a truck suddenly crashes into Kiryu School's gate. Another car follows and kidnaps Himawari and Ryu. Masaru, who tries to stop them, is thrown aside and badly injured. Tatsu and the others immediately chase the kidnappers by car. In a reckless move, Tatsu jumps onto the kidnapper's vehicle but slips and hangs on. Torijiro tries to help, but ends up in the same situation until he is rescued by Koharu. They eventually manage to stop the kidnappers. Afterward, they rush Masaru to the hospital. Everyone suspects that Boss Kondo is behind the kidnapping, so Tatsu, Torijiro, and Masaru decide to prepare for war. Kondo himself is already waiting, and a major battle is declared. Not long after, Masaru regains consciousness and decides to join the fight. They go to a weapon shop to buy supplies. Tatsu's name spreads further in the neighborhood, even reaching Kondo's men. Meanwhile, another Yakuza named Asuruma, who previously enrolled his grandson in Kiryu School, comes to Kondo. He declares he will help because he dislikes both Tatsu and Torijiro. Kondo agrees. The battle begins when Kondo and his men arrive at Kiryu School.
爆弾まで奴は本気ですよ。
どうなってんだおい。出てこいよこの野郎。
Suddenly, gunfire is heard, but it turns out to be fireworks from the festival organized by Tatsu and his group. Asuruma, it turns out, was only pretending and is actually on Tatsu's side. Kondo feels frustrated at being betrayed.
逮捕！この野郎！いい根性してんじゃねえか！やってくれたな、やってくれたな！
A fierce fight breaks out between Tatsu, Torijiro, Masaru, and Koharu against Kondo and his men. The intense battle is ultimately won by Tatsu and his group. Everyone at the festival feels happy. Afterward, Tatsu tries to forgive Kondo and only advises him not to kidnap children again. But Kondo is bewildered as he never carried out the kidnapping. Tatsu is shocked to hear this. Soon after, the police arrive and arrest Tatsu on suspicion of child abduction. However, After a lengthy interrogation, it is revealed that the real kidnappers were another criminal group who abducted children to demand ransoms from their parents. They had left Ryu in front of Tatsu's house to make it easier to retrieve him later, as they assumed Tatsu was just an ordinary weak householder. In the end, Ryu's parents are found, and he is returned to his family. Although Tatsu and his family feel sad to part with Ryu, they learn to let go. The film ends,